you're saving people money, you're giving them a positive PR, you're also kind of educating the people working at the job site about like recycling and stuff. So like, it's just a win all across the board.
For word, do the unsexy thing. Everybody wants to do the sexy thing. Nobody wants to deal with trash. If you're willing to deal with trash, you can make money. So yeah, I'm a trash man. I'm the trash man, and I'm fine with that. I'm Chuck the trash man. No worries.
Absolute gold, man. I can just close the laptop now. I think that was enough value for everyone listening. No, I completely agree.
Guys, we put an AI image recognition camera on each dumpster, essentially turning the dumpster into a smart dumpster. Then we have signage and pictures and everything else to try to help people.
Agree. Guys, I don't think I've ever had anyone on the show that's a better marketer than me. I gotta say, I'm lost for words.
Wood is an amazing material that can be used in so many different ways. So just instead of burying it in landfills, let's separate it, let's process it. We can use it for remanufacturing. We can use it for energy production. We can use it for industrial products, kind of the new surge.
Welcome to the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by GrowthExpertz. You're in store for a chat about funding, marketing, startups, and all things growth.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Funded Now What podcast. I am Andrew Lee Miller, also known as Andrew Startups. And today I'm with Todd Thomas, the founder and CEO of Woodchuck. You can see the company at woodchuck.ai. They are a wood waste diversion and waste reduction company. I personally am on the lookout for companies that are trying to make the world a better place with AI, and I found one. So I got Todd on the show. Todd, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me on. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So, I think, was it last year you guys raised $3.75 million, and your goal is helping contractors and people that are often throwing a lot of wood out in the waste and diverting that into other areas. Can you elaborate on what Woodchuck does?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're really looking at two global problems. One is we have way too much waste. And the second is we have this massive surge of energy demand that's actually accelerating. So we try to, we think a pretty elegant solution where we tie those two together to address both. So we are diverting valuable materials out of the waste stream, and we use those to generate renewable energy. So we're really addressing both. And you're right, we primarily focus on construction and manufacturing. The United States construction industry sent 42 million tons of wood to landfills last year. That's a ton of wood. Our landfills are 30 to 40% wood by volume. So our landfills are filling up. Nobody wants another landfill, right? Certainly not near them. So if we can keep wood out of the landfills, the kind of a side benefit is it's going to extend the life of our existing landfills. So we shouldn't need more landfills. But more importantly, wood is an amazing material that can be used in so many different ways. So just instead of burying it in landfills, let's separate it, let's process it. We can use it for remanufacturing. We can use it for energy production. We can use it for industrial products. Kind of the new surge, we can use it for biochar, right? And when you produce biochar is an amazing material that can be used in so many positive ways. And the byproduct is energy that can be captured and used in other processes. So let's not send this wood to the landfill. It's too valuable, and we can do too many great things with it.
Yeah. Sounds amazing. How are you using AI specifically to do this?
So we use AI throughout the process. One of the problems with waste diversion has always been separating all the waste, right? If you imagine your typical construction site, right? You've got a big 40-yard dumpster, those big steel boxes, right? Everybody's seen those before. And on a construction site, typically you just throw everything in there. So you've got wood, plastic, cardboard, lunch boxes, Burger King wrappers, everything goes in there. Once all that stuff is mixed together, once it's all commingled, that's trash. It's really hard to separate. And lots of companies have tried to separate those materials after the fact. And they've used AI before, and they've used robotics, but it's very labor intensive. It's very expensive, and no one's kind of figured out a way to make the math work. So we took a little bit different approach. We actually pre-sort materials. So when we are on a job site, you'll see a dumpster for wood, a dumpster for cardboard, a dumpster for plastic, a dumpster for metal. And then we put an AI image recognition camera on each dumpster, essentially turning the dumpster into a smart dumpster. Then we have signage and pictures and everything else to try to help people. But what we want is we want only wood in the wood dumpster. So if someone puts the wrong thing in the dumpster, the AI recognizes it and alerts them immediately, so we can get that corrected. And usually when
Alerts
we're
the
on a
person?
website,
Alerts the person throwing away the Burger King wrapper.
yeah, it sends them a text. Yeah, it sends them a
It
text that, hey, no,
so
this is the wood
wait,
dumpster.
wait. Hold on. It knows their face and then their phone number, or is it, how does
No,
it know
from a job site,
Okay.
we have the AI camera set up to monitor a particular dumpster. And if the wrong material goes in that dumpster, we have a list of people that are to receive alerts. So the superintendent, the project manager, whoever it may be, and we get that corrected. What we find is if you let people know immediately, it gets corrected. If you let them know tomorrow, well, now it's too late because it's already
It's at the
buried under
bottom
other
of a
stuff.
yeah.
You have to let them know immediately. So it's real time alerts to get it corrected. And when we're on a new job site, it might take a week or so to get everybody up to speed on how the system works. But within a week or two, everybody's putting the right material in the right dumpster, and we're getting 99% clean material. And now, instead of a big dumpster full of trash, what you have is commodities. You have a dumpster full of wood, a dumpster full of cardboard, a dumpster full of plastic. Well, these are valuable materials that are commodities that can generate revenue. And so now all of a sudden, instead of paying someone to bury all those materials in the landfill, we turn them into commodities and we monetize them. We sell them, and we do a revenue share with the contractor, so they share in the upside. So we help reduce the cost for the contractors.
Wow.
And it's the system really works.
That
The
is
next
awesome.
piece where we use the AI, which is pretty cool, is once you start processing that wood, wood's an amazing material and can be used for lots of different things, but not all wood can be used for everything. So for example, if the wood has fire retardant or preservatives or
Right.
things like that, those are kind of permanent contaminants. It can't be used for energy production. So we use the AI to help us identify that and segregate that wood, because that wood can still be used for industrial products like fillers and solidifiers and toppers. So it still has value. We still don't want to send it to the landfill. It just can't be used for energy use. So we use the AI to help us segregate out permanently contaminated wood. So we still use all of the wood, but we use all of the wood to whatever its highest best use is.
So cool. So it's computer vision, AI cameras, plus obviously some subject matter expertise. Did you have a past in construction and you see this problem yourself and you're like, God, we need to, how did you come up with this idea?
Yeah, I've got a kind of made eclectic background. So yeah, I've been in construction. I've
There
also
you
been
go.
in AI platforms and in
There you go.
sustainability. So Woodchuck kind of pulls together all of my weird different experiences from my past into one value proposition.
Makes
And
sense.
my co-founder is Dre Nietzsche Nelson, and he and I, this is the third AI platform company that we've done together. So when
Wow.
I called Dre and said, "Hey, I've got this cool new idea," he was in immediately, and and we built an MVP. And our very first MVP, all it did was recognize wood, but we built it in 90 days. And in those 90 days, I landed a first project for Amazon. Actually, Amazon was building a new distribution center just north of Detroit. So we're like, okay, we'd like to divert wood for you. So we rolled out our MVP, and in month one, I think we diverted 680 tons of wood from their job
Right.
site. And they said, hey, that's really cool, but what about cardboard? What about plastic? And we're like, we can teach our AI cardboard and plastic. So we quickly kind of accelerated the learning of our algorithms and learned those additional materials. And in month two, we diverted wood, cardboard, plastic. And from there, it's just growing. And we can do pretty much any material on a job site. And most of the materials on a job site have value. If you separate, because we can do concrete, we can do asphalt, we can do multiple different types of metal, we can do multiple different types of plastic. So separate all of that stuff out, and the vast majority of that material has commodity value. It should not be buried in landfills.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that opens up a lot of other questions for me, but I got to go back to the Amazon being your first trial customer. How did you land? Hey, I mean, that it makes sense because big companies want good PR. They want to save money. I mean, especially Amazon. I've known a lot of people who work there. Any way they can save 0.001%, they're like all in on it because at their scale, it's billions. But how did you For all the early stage founders listening that just need that first LOI or that first customer, how do you get the biggest company in the world to be like, yeah, I'll try your little startup?
You're right. That was a huge windfall for us. And honestly, Woodchuck came out of Alloy Partners. So Alloy Partners is a startup studio. So
Hmm.
it's not an accelerator. They actually help you build the company.
Right.
So they set up a lot of the back office stuff for you. They make introductions. So Alloy Partners reached out to Amazon and said, "Hey, we have this cool new Portco. Will you give them a try?" And Amazon said, "Yeah, we've got this little project in Detroit. They can play with the wood there. That's fine." And it's worked
How,
out pretty well.
so from, I think you said it was 468 tons in the first month that
Yeah.
that diverted. How much does that make or save for Amazon? I mean, just give me a rough ballpark. I'm sure you don't.
In general, we will save our contractors 30 to 40% of their waste cost. So I don't remember the exact numbers for that job, but we just finished a huge job for Ford. And again, the waste hauling line item is a pretty small percentage to them,
Right.
but we saved them $1.6 million. So I don't care if that's a small percentage of your budget or not.
It's
$1 million is a
still a
million
million
bucks,
dollars. Yeah, a
right?
million
That's a
bucks
million
is a
bucks.
million bucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that was over what kind of time period?
That was over a 6 month period.
Yeah.
And on
Million
that
bucks is a
job, we
million bucks.
diverted 10,000 tons of wood, which generated 10,000 megawatts of renewable energy. So
That's amazing.
it's,
And,
it's
the marketer in me, like there's bells or there's lights flickering on like the PR opportunities. So on my end, anytime I've worked for a company that does so much good while making money and saving money, we've always focused on also being a marketing engine for the clients because that actually closes deals too. Like, yes, saving a million bucks is cool, but it might not move the needle for Ford, as funny as it may sound. But
I
if
know,
they
right?
can get global PR about diverting thousands of pounds of tons of waste out of the landfill, that's worth 100 million actually for Ford because they're like, we're a green company. And
Yeah.
like that's the really big initiative. So do you do you see them using it as marketing initiatives and are you like massaging that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we're really leaning into the data center space
Yeah.
because when you build a data centers actually produce more waste than your typical commercial construction because all those high end electronics, all the GPUs and the servers and the racks, it all arrives on site in custom hardwood boxes, right? And the inside the boxes is a ton of cardboard and plastic to protect those servers, right?
Wow.
So when you pull that little server out of the middle of this huge box, all this packaging material right now today, it all goes to the landfill. But we want all of it because it's wood, cardboard, plastic. We want all of it. So we're going to take it all and divert it into turn into something valuable. And with the discussion right now around data centers and the impact it has on communities, we can be really beneficial because we can come in and say, look, we can help reduce the waste, we can help lower the cost, and we can help generate some power that's going to help with this overall equation. And so we've had several of our construction company clients tell us, yeah, we view you as a strategic advantage. So when we go in to bid these data centers, we tell them we're working with Woodchuck,
Mhm.
and they think it helps us win data center jobs. So
Absolutely. I mean,
we're the big tech companies, they're looking for positive PR, and
exactly what I was going to say. No, nothing. You don't see a positive story about a data center these days, and so I think that's a huge value add. That's so cool. So you mentioned, I kind of already have an answer to this. This isn't your first rodeo, and um, the non-incubator studio that you're built out of probably helped as well. But like, can you share any insight into how you got the funding and what like the learning curve was like on that for any founder that's listening that's still trying to raise that seed round?
yeah, so I mean that's always the hardest part for every startup, right? Getting that first funding, getting that first client. And so honestly, I have to give a lot of the credit to Alloy Partners. They have a really good strategy around that. So they typically don't start with a startup. They start with a corporate client that has a problem. And I think that's one of the mistakes that a lot of startups make. A lot of startups start with some cool product or some cool
Yeah.
technology that they're excited about, and then they go try to find a client for it. And I think the reverse usually works better. If you start with a problem and you let that problem define the solution, Maybe it's an AI solution. Maybe it's a mechanical solution. Maybe it's a process solution. But let that problem just define the solution. And then is that problem large enough that someone will pay you to solve it for them? And if that's true, if you can find a problem and it's a big problem that companies will pay to solve, well, now that potentially is a viable company, right? So then you build your MVP and you bring it out to those clients that have this problem. And the other thing, I'm a big believer in the minimal viable product should be that. Don't put a bunch of bells and whistles. Don't make it slick and pretty.
Keep it
Get your
simple.
minimally viable product and get it into your client's hands, because you're never going to get it quite right. You're going to get it wrong. It's just how wrong is it? But if you get it into your client's hands, they'll tell you what they like. They'll tell you what they don't like. And I would say shy away from free pilots, because the reality is if you're giving somebody something for free, the feedback is different. Even if it's a nominal payment, like pay us $100 or pay us $1,000, pay us something for this
The
pilot.
psychology is different. Yeah.
Well, now they're paying for it. And so now they're like, well, you know what? We really don't like that blue button. We really think it should be red. But you're going to get, if they're paying you, they're going to give you honest feedback. So I'd say don't do free pilots. Get your MVP in their hands as soon as possible, and then iterate with your client. Let them give you feedback, iterate, respond, and the product's going to improve. And I think that's the way to build a product that people will actually
Absolutely.
buy from you.
Absolute gold, man. I can just close the laptop now. I think that was enough value for everyone listening. No, I completely agree. I didn't talk about my business, but I'm a marketing consultant. And a lot of times I work with first-time founders and they're like, no, we're not ready to launch. We got to just finish this thing. I'm like, no, early users are only loving this one part of the product. Let's get out more data. Let's push it out, see what, so, you know, uh, like you said, it's never 100% ready and the market's always going to punch you in the face. It's the faster you get up and learn from that, how to defend those punches better, that gets you there. So that's awesome.
And honestly, it's never done, right? Your platform or your product, it's a living beast, and you're always responding to market conditions. You're always making improvements. So if you wait until your product is done to launch,
You've
you're
waited
never
too
launching.
long. Yeah. You waited too long. That got me really excited, and I skipped over the obvious question that everyone listening is. So you saved for $1.5 million over 6 months. How much does a client pay, or what's an LTV for you? I mean, let's just say from one job.
So for that particular example, if they would have used just a typical trash company, if they'd have used waste management or public services to haul all of that material to a landfill, it would have cost them $4 million, right? We ended up charging them 2.4 million and that includes the revenue share that we share back with them on all those materials that we sold. But our total bill was 2.4, so they saved 1.6 million bucks.
And got $1.5 million back.
And none of that material went to the landfill. So they got a
and they
PR
saved
good guy, and they saved a bunch of money.
And so that's amazing. In the $2.4 million, are you doing a PR strategy session with them or anything like that? Are you sitting down like, hey, this is what our clients do to maximize the PR about this? Like, we'll sit with your marketing team for 30 minutes. You do that?
Yeah, we did some joint marketing. We did a joint press release around it. And actually, since you asked about it, I have a new book coming out. It's called Starving for Innovation, and we actually highlight that project in the book.
Nice.
And this is my 5th book. And in my previous books, I talk a lot about AI and energy demand. But this book is definitely my best. It's also definitely my most personal book. And in this book, we really open up the kimono on Woodchuck and how it got started and what were the mistakes that we made and what were the successes that we had. And we kind of use Woodchuck as a template for, look, you want to launch a startup, you want to be an innovative company, here's a template you can follow. Learn from our mistakes, learn from our successes, and it's all wrapped up. And so the new book is called Starving for Innovation. It's available on Amazon.com right now. You can look up Starving for Innovation and you can pre-order. It'll be out shortly, but you can go on and pre-order. So if you're enjoying this conversation, everything we're talking about right now, it's all in the book.
Guys, I don't think I've ever had anyone on the show that's a better marketer than me. I got to say, I'm lost for words, but I'll have Todd give me the link and it'll be in the show notes. So you don't have to go search for it on Amazon. It'll be right below. And I will make sure that Irfana doesn't edit out, who manages my podcast, edit out that plug because it was so good and clean. And so that's awesome. Well, from one author to the other, That's really cool that you're doing that. I don't know how you're finding time while building a company to write a book, but maybe AI is helping you a little bit. My last book, I should be better at plugging my shit on my own podcast. I wrote a book earlier this year about GEO. Do you know what GEO is?
I
Like
don't.
the
What's that?
marketing strategy? Let's go. Okay, so pretty much the biggest trend in the last 6 or 7 years in growth and marketing is generative engine optimization. It's the essentially how we get businesses into AI at the right time for
Mm,
recommendations, citing when your customers are like, how can we save more money or how can I reduce my waste on my job site? They're going to talk to AI. Maybe not all right now, but the bigger the company, the more they're using that. And the reason that is I think employees, long-term employees at really large enterprises like waste management, for instance, I know personally, um, they outsource vendor research to AI. These are 9 to 5 employees. They don't have the hustle of a startup founder. So they're not like putting in a ton of research. They're like, yeah, boss, after this 30-minute meeting, I'm going to do all the research this week. What they do is 30 minutes before the next meeting, boom, boom. Okay. These are the companies that come up in AI. Yeah, I did a whole week's worth of research, CEO. These are the companies I'm going to meet with or I met with. And so that is very, very important nowadays to come up. And so, yeah, GrowthExpertz, my company, we've spent over a year and a half studying that, using all the tools on the market. And I wrote a book, and that is actually how we grow our business now. We don't do anything else. So all of our clients, they come inbound from talking to AI about, hey, I just raised the seed round. I don't need, I don't need a full-time marketer. What should I do? Who's a fractional CMO? And then the content that we created and even all the links that this podcast generates, and that's just putting it in very short terms, put me and GrowthExpertz up at the top of those conversations, and we get like 3 to 5 meetings booked a week from that. So it's a lot of other in different areas. People are calling it AEO, answer engine optimization, AIO, AI AI optimization. It's LLM optimization of your online content essentially. So definitely, PR is one of the biggest uh, link building factors for that, like the way you validate your company. So if you're getting joint PR connected to like $1 billion, literally the most famous companies, you are going to be unbeatable from a GEO and SEO perspective. It's just there's some like on page stuff that you have to do. But beyond that, I'm sure AI really thinks that you're the shit because you're getting press releases with fucking Amazon. So that's very cool. What are you guys doing to acquire customers?
So we're in our third year now, and we've been fortunate that we've got some pretty big name brand companies that we get to do work for, and we're really leaning into the AI space because it's so much opportunity there right now. They're building them everywhere, build them as fast as they can. They produce
Mhm.
so much waste that we really
Yeah.
bring value there. So we're leaning into that space, and if you look at that space, there's basically 20 national contractors that do 90% of the data work all across North America.
Wow.
So I basically personally reach out to each one of those 20 companies. And we now are kind of engaged and doing initial projects with 5 of them.
Wow.
And we actually think that's about as much as we can handle in 2027. So our current growth strategy just kind of serve this existing client base. And as we kind of scale up and prove that we can handle that amount of scale, then we'll continue our outreach to those other companies. But right now we're all about, we've got plenty of opportunity. We need to prove that we can execute at scale. Like doing 1 data center, doing 2 data centers, that's great. Can we do 5 data centers at a time? That's what we need to prove right now.
Love it. Another piece of gold from a serial founder. I think first time founders, they're like, oh my God, everything's working. Amazon press release got us lots of leads. And then you spread yourself too thin and you actually provide a bad service and then it all dies. And so I agree, especially if you're making a
You
couple
can grow
million bucks.
yourself right out of business. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
grow
2 things,
yourself
right?
out of business.
It's like the cash flow, right? You can't take on so many projects that you don't have enough cash flow and you literally run out of money. Like that's one problem. And the other problem is just execution. If you're used to doing one project at a time and now all of a sudden you're trying to do 5, 6, 7, 8, that's a very different animal and your execution can slip. And if you're that early company like Woodchuck, right? We're still brand new. We're a little teeny company. We got these great opportunities. But if we screw up one of these initial projects,
It's
we're
over.
done. We're
It's
out,
over.
right?
Yeah.
Amazon's not going to give us a second chance. So we
No,
have to nail every job. So we're at the point where, yeah, we've got a bunch of opportunities. We need to be selective about which ones we're going to take and take the ones we know we can execute and we can nail so they want us on the next job.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And the data center thing, it's the market's only going to grow. So the more
Oh,
case studies and more proof of concept you have, the more trust you get from customers, and then you have leeway to be a little bit smaller or a little bit slower than the waste management provider because there's enough benefit there. But I agree, um, you got to knock the first 10 out case studies out of the park before people really trust you. And there's a lot of pressure when you're working with literally the biggest companies in the world. And that's interesting. Uh, okay. Well, the rest of the podcast is supposed to be you asking me for marketing advice, but if there isn't a lot of need there, I mean, then maybe we could just talk more. I'm interested to hear more about how you chose the a studio. You said you'd been around for a while. A great co-founder. What made you lean in that direction to, like, let's go to the studio? Because I actually really love that because I always tell founders, don't be greedy. Get as many partners early on as you can. It's better to have 5% of something that gets to $1 billion valuation than it is to have 100% of something that dies really quickly. And I like the studio approach. I've been a part of an exit from a studio before, but what made you go that route?
So, um, Alloy Partners, the studio I'm talking about, they build what they call advantaged startups. And the way they do that, I said before, they don't start with the startup. They start with the corporate partner
Yeah.
that has a problem. So in our case, the corporate partner was North Star Clean Energy. So North Star Clean Energy is the clean energy side of the state of Michigan's public electric utility company, right? So they've got this clean energy arm. Well, North Star Clean Energy had 3 bioenergy facilities in the state of Michigan that could burn biomass to produce renewable energy, but they didn't have enough biomass. So they were forced to augment their fuel supply with fossil fuels. Well, they wanted off fossil fuels as fast as possible, but
Wow.
also they think they need to double their energy capacity over the next 10 years. So, how do you catch up and get off of fossil fuels immediately and then double that energy production over the next 10 years? And so their idea was we need a net new source of biomass. We can't just look at forestry and agriculture and paper mills. We need a net new source of woody biomass. And so that was the problem that they had. And they hired Alloy Partners to solve that problem for them.
Wow.
And Alloy Partners called me and said, "Hey, Todd, you have this weird eclectic background across construction and sustainability and AI platforms. Do you think AI could help us solve this problem?" And so I was originally brought in as a consultant to kind of like, yeah, let's figure out what a problem looks or what a solution might look like here. And we came up with a hypothesis that there's a massive amount of wood waste in construction. And if AI could help us kind of flip the script on identifying and segregating those materials, construction waste and manufacturing waste could be a net new source of biomass that could drive tons of renewable energy growth, not just in Michigan, but really across the United States and frankly, across the world.
Yeah,
Wood waste is a global problem. It's not a US problem. Everybody has it.
of course.
And so that was our hypothesis. So that was when I called Dre and said, "Hey, Dre, we need to build a new platform." And yeah, so it was probably 90 days after that Dre had built the MVP, and we went out and got the Amazon job, and kind of away we went.
That's incredibly fast. I love hearing days now. In the last few years, people were like, yeah, we got our MVP out in days. And it used to be years. And then, life happens in the middle of the years of that product development. No, it's funny. I was focusing more on real estate investing myself over the years up until AI came out. And now because of the software development costs really plummeting to almost zero, marketing has become the main differentiator for a lot of businesses. And sounds like, you're a badass cold email guy. You got 25, I think, percent of the 20 outreach messages used. I was blown away by that stat, but you have a huge value add. I have a little bit more difficult of a question. Like, how are you building a moat for this? Like, is any of this patented, like the computer vision or anything? Like, You know,
Yeah.
how are
So
you
when
protecting
we
yourself from 19-year-old kids in Silicon Valley that think that they can do this?
yeah, so when we look to build our MVP, there's a lot of different AI models you can buy. That I mean, you can get Google Suite, and you can basically build an AI model to do all sorts of things, within 45 minutes, right? And it's up and working. And so we looked at a bunch of those different products, and ultimately we decided to build it from scrap ourselves. So it was 100% proprietary. So we built the whole thing ourselves. The platform is ours. That we built our own data set. We tagged our own data set. So the platform, the data set, the algorithms, we built our own image capture system. So we basically got a camera. We put a solar panel on it, and we have a CPU and an LTE, so we can capture images and feed it directly into our own cloud, and we don't need any data or any power from our clients, so we can deploy it anywhere. So our little smart image capture system that turns our dumpsters into smart dumpsters, those are standalone systems that feed images directly into our cloud. So all of that is proprietary. The whole thing is proprietary. So if someone else changes their base code, doesn't impact us. We don't have to cascade anything. It's all our own system. We also built it to be really flexible because we didn't know what we didn't know, right? We knew that we were just at the beginning and we are going to learn a ton. So we built a very flexible platform. So that's why when Amazon called and said, hey, wood's great, but what can you do with cardboard and plastic? Like, okay, great. So we quickly taught our algorithm, what is cardboard? What is plastic? And literally within month 2, we had it up and working. And granted, it wasn't super accurate that first month, but at this point, we're about 3 years in. Our algorithms are very accurate. We can identify pretty much any different type of plastic and contaminant, and all sorts of different types of wood and different contaminants. So at this point, it's very accurate. And again, it's all proprietary. Um, and yeah, we're in that patent process, which is not a fast process, but
No, but
yeah, I think we'll end up with a handful of patents.
as long as it says pending, I think it's enough to scare people from like, let me enter this space, so you should plaster patent pending all over everything from a marketing point of view, because lets people know that they can't step on your shoes.
The other thing that we have going for this that's pretty unique is we're not just a software company. Like everybody wants to build an AI product, and everybody wants to build a software product.
Right.
And we do have that, but we're also literally an operations company. We go
Yeah.
out on job sites. We put our
And
cameras on
hardware.
job sites. We have guys that are driving trucks and guys that are baling cardboard.
Wow.
Like we are absolutely operations. And most people really shy away from operations, not
Yeah,
just startup guys, but VCs and investors. As soon as they
of
hear you have an
course.
operations component, like you own equipment. Yeah, we own a lot of equipment. Okay, we're out. Right. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Wow.
it's pretty, so that kind of is its own moat. Like we are
It
this
is.
operations company, and we're a software platform. So it creates its own moat, but it also creates a huge strategic advantage because in the world of sustainability, tracking and reporting it's probably the biggest challenge. There's not a lot of data out there. And because there aren't a lot of operators, nobody collects a lot of data on waste diversion and material recovery. There just isn't data available. So if you're building a sustainability platform to receive and report on all that information, well, what are you reporting on? There's very little data available. Because we are the operator, we collect all of that data. We collect it firsthand. And because we're collecting it directly, we're getting AI images to capture and prove, yeah, this is wood. And it was collected at this location at this time. And we verified that it's wood, and we verified the contamination rate. And then
Wow.
we confirm that with weight tickets. So at the end of a project, when we deliver a sustainability report to our clients, that's Google or Amazon or whoever it may be, we can tell them we diverted 10,000 tons of wood, we generated 10,000 megawatts of clean electricity, and here is the auditable digital chain of custody that proves it. You're not green shouting, you're not greenwashing. This is a provable, auditable data chain.
Big difference.
And so now you can take that to the press, you can take that to your investors, you can take that to the clients and say, this is what we did, and here's the evidence to prove it. And that's really our moat.
Absolutely. No, it's so multifaceted. I think like there's a billion easier businesses to start probably. So, but that's why it's such an amazing initiative and very, altruistic. So I
But
know
that's the
that
other
you're,
advice for startup people, right? Do the unsexy thing. Everybody wants to do the sexy thing. Nobody wants to deal with trash. If you're willing to deal with trash, you can make money. So yeah, I'm a trash man. I'm the trash man, and I'm
He's the
fine with
trash.
that. I'm Chuck the trash man. No worries.
Yeah, I think one is you got to be motivated by more than money. I know I can see that in your eyes and feel that. You said you've had some other companies. It's about solving cool problems. And this is a massive fucking problem that it seems like a win-win across the board. You're saving people money, you're giving them a positive PR, you're also kind of educating the people working at the job site about like recycling and stuff. So like it's just a win all across the board, but executing it, took, even though you can build an MVP and Dre seems to be some kind of genius, executing all that multifaceted, even like what you made seem so easy. Oh yeah, I just reached out to Amazon and 20 other companies, and then 5 of them, most people couldn't handle themselves in the boardroom. Not to like age you or anything, but I'm in Silicon Valley and I see the average CEO that's getting to your level is in their 40s and 50s right now. So these young people that are the face of tech that are doing AI, it's a small percentage and they're not really getting past seed round. A lot of them raise money and like VCs are betting on the jockey that by 30 they'll figure shit out and it'll be $1 billion thing. But it's clear that you've done some shit and you know your stuff enough to be able to carry some swag into those meetings. I think that make Amazon listen up. All the compliments to you to the side. It's amazing to be in a place where you don't need marketing and growth and you've got your pipeline lined up, but you came on this show. So you're clearly like, oh, I want to get my story out. Maybe it's promote the book. Let's say we've got like 10 minutes left here. What marketing advice can an expensive marketing consultant give you for free on this podcast? Because you've already shared so much gold with the listeners. What can I do for you? What kind of goals do you
We
have, like growth wise? Maybe not. Maybe it's not customer acquisition. Maybe it's like I want to get more PR. Maybe it's I want to show up on Google. Like I want to scale our social media. What do you want to do?
well, it's we have a unique marketing. Well, maybe it's not unique. You can tell me, I guess. But we kind of have 2 layers of clients, right? We work directly for the contractor. So whether that's Turner or Clayco or Wallbridge, whoever's building the data center, that's who we work for, right? We're their total waste management subcontractor.
Yeah,
But the end client is Google or Amazon or Oracle or OpenAI, whoever the user of that data
yeah,
center is, right?
yeah,
So what I would like is I want to get our name out there. So Oracle calls their contractor and says, hey, we're hearing all about this Woodchuck guys. We want Woodchuck on our job sites. We want our waste diverted. So we want to create pull through from the big tech companies to their contractors. And we've had some success with that already. Some of the clients that we're already working with, they do a second or a third data center and it's a different contractor, and they will tell their contractor, hey, we use Woodchuck on the last job. We want them on this job. And they say, oh no, we have a relationship with this trash company. And the end client says, no, we want Woodchuck reports. So we want Woodchuck on these jobs. So that's super powerful for us. Obviously,
yeah.
when you're negotiating your contract with the contractor, if he's already been told by his client he has to use us, that's a nice leverage point in your contract
Yeah, they
negotiations.
can't really negotiate. I mean, you might not always
So the
know.
more we can get our awareness into the big tech companies, where they like ideally mention us to their contractors, that's where we're trying to go. So,
All right,
how do we do that double layered awareness?
all right. I'm going to take a deep breath here and rant for a couple minutes. Ready?
Go, man, go.
All right. So the first thing is conferences. So I don't know if there are data center conferences or construction conferences, AI conferences. There was just a massive one, AI conference in Las Vegas that I went to called AI4. They do have another one somewhere, I think in New York or something this year. So I would start pitching you as a speaker at these conferences. I would not be paying for a booth. I would not be even offering to pay for a ticket. I would be offering to speak about, unique AI application, how we're saving companies money, how we're driving good PR for AI and data center space. Those things are valuable topics that you should be invited to speak. So you speak at conferences, you're able to be in front of people. There's a great PR halo effect from that as well, but it gets to the right people. So, that's a 1 year effort. So you speak at 3 or 4 conferences in the year, and you analyze, just like we were talking about with other things. You analyze if it works, and you get better at it and then you scale it up if it works. If it works, then you can really spend money to be at the shows afterwards. I know you've raised some money and you're getting millions of dollars per contract, but I think when there's a really valuable story, we want to earn that opportunity rather than pay for it, because it's just going to be so much better. So that's the first thing. Second thing is the GEO stuff I mentioned. You should be first analyzing your website from an SEO perspective. I don't like the .ai URL for Google and for AI stuff. If you're selling to construction, .ai makes no sense to me. If you're selling to software companies, then .ai is fine. They don't care. It could be .io, .co, whatever. Startups don't care. But in the tech outside of the tech space and the construction space, I would definitely find use woodchuck.com or, something like that. Try with whatever. And maybe at this stage it would be savewood.com and just spend the money, 100K to be savewood.com or something. No, I don't know. So first there's some on-page stuff that we do for the website, which is all Googleable. You can literally tell someone on your team to buy my book too, and it all goes through that. But trying to copy off you and plug the book a couple more times, but never learned from anyone for marketing on the show before. But so then it's really all about that PR stuff, and you're already really doing that with customers. But I think creating case studies out of that, getting that into like really focusing on the sustainable media. So your renewable media, your climate tech media, like all of those things that some of those employees of those companies might, that are tasked with sustainability roles in the company probably consume that media and go, holy shit, this is going to be such a good thing for me at my job. This is what, from a marketing point of view, there's always like a psychological, I'm trying to understand what is the need of the other person on the other end of the computer, and then drive my solution into that, right? So if their goal is to just look really good and to their boss, that's what Woodchuck does at the end of the day. We're going to be the easiest way for them to get a promotion and like revolutionize their department in their company. And so you want to build relationships with those people even if you're not ready. And the way we do that is scalable LinkedIn outreach. So there's a bunch of different automation tools for LinkedIn that are gray area, but though they're legal still. And you don't need customer acquisition, so you don't have to be aggressive. Hey, you're just connecting with sustainability leaders at the biggest companies in the world. If you ever want to chat how we're helping Amazon or whatever, let me know. They don't usually respond to that, but this is a $50 or $100 a month automation tool that will grow your audience on LinkedIn without you having to have a team member spending time on there. And then we do founder-led content on LinkedIn. So founder-led content for you, I can already think about all the things that you would talk about, the how much wood waste there is, sharing images of landfills. Like, did you know it's this 40% is fucking wood? Did you know that data centers have this much waste? Like all the stuff you talked about, you could even extrapolate out of this call and transcript and then give it to AI and be like, make me 30 long form posts out of this. That's the lazy version, but that's essentially the easiest way is I have an AI note taker go to all the CEO's calls, and then I take all those transcripts. I'm like, any insightful thing that Todd said, which is every fucking thing that comes out of your mouth, we want to make content out of that. So that LinkedIn content, it's not salesy. It's not like sign up below, especially because you're not desperate for customers at this point. It's really just trying to educate people to what the company does. And then those people, when there's a need or when there's a discussion internally, they go, you know what? I know a guy actually, because they keep seeing your content and then they come inbound. And that's what you really want. Like you're mentioning, you want the inbound customers. The sales cycle is going to be short. They're going to tell the contractor we have to have that. And it's going to be really easy to work with them. So that's the second thing. I think that's pretty much it. There's obviously paid ads. So I'll go back to LinkedIn. You're already making money. You can spend like 5K a month on LinkedIn ads, just showing a case study. We all see like this carousel. You can scroll through the case study stuff. Not a ton of click-through rate, not a lot of lead generation out of it, but a lot of really good branding. And the cool thing about LinkedIn is you can select the companies. So you mentioned like the FANG companies that are like the biggest ones in the world, and then the director level or the people with sustainability roles. So role plus company, the audience shrinks quite low, and it's just a branding exercise. So we're just running these ads. Again, you don't care, 5K for a year, 60K, and you'll have 10x brand awareness that you have now, and the LTV of one customer coming out of that is like 50x that cost. So I think that's really worthwhile to do. Um, those are just the things off the top of my head that would really increase the awareness. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So to maximize LinkedIn today, you really need to do the ads. Is that what you're saying? Because once upon a time, like 5 years ago, if I posted something on LinkedIn, maybe a third of my contacts would see it. And I've got a
Yeah,
pretty good base of
yeah,
contacts at LinkedIn right now. And I'm on LinkedIn a lot. But now today, if I post something on LinkedIn, even if I like do a bunch of tags, like I'll tag 3 or 4 companies and 3 or 4 people, I mean, I might get 1,000 views or a couple thousand views. It's like, it's a fraction of what it used to
yeah,
be.
yeah,
So I feel like it's a lot harder to 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 get views on
totally.
LinkedIn compared to what it was, 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's by design. I mean, Microsoft bought it, and consider Microsoft like the most evil private equity company in that scenario. So they're like, how can we take? They spent like $26 billion buying it, by the way, and so like they got to get their money back. So first of all, I think views are a vanity metric. I think it's completely controlled by the platform. I took all the terms and conditions of every social media site and I gave it to AI, and I was like, can they legally fake the views? And theoretically they can. Like they're not beholden to proving to anyone unless they put together a class action lawsuit. So I don't actually believe that those views are accurate. I think that they're manufactured to create a sense of urgency in everybody that's on there, that we have to go do this. Oh my God, I see it in my own clients. Like, Andrew, once we started the automation, my views went down. We should stop the automation. I'm like, no, you're getting actual conversations. That's the metric.
Yeah.
The views is not the metric. I don't care how many views you're getting on your content. It's how many conversations, how many people are coming to you, messaging you, how many people are talking to you at conferences. Yo, I look at your stuff
Yeah.
on LinkedIn.
Results, not activity. Yeah.
Results, not activity. Absolutely. So even I'm not looking at any of the insight. I mean, I was posting seriously really hard for a long time and I stopped because the outreach that for $50 a month, as opposed to spending hours creating the content. I'll still post once in a while, but it's not a big deal. You, on the other hand, are trying to really get out there, and you do have inbound, but you're trying to really get awareness to the right audience. So they will see it, but I'm not looking at how many people see it. So second thing is, it is a pay to play environment. Fucking Zuckerberg is the richest dude in the world, not because you can go viral for free on any of those platforms. You need to pay. Even with this episode, we will spend hundreds of dollars promoting this on LinkedIn. Don't get much out of it, but I don't look at the views. I just know I get stopped on the street in San Francisco. Like, dude, I listened to that podcast. That was amazing. I'm like, okay, that's the real metric for me. And then guests will come back like, hey, that really helped. We got some leads out of it. And so that's cool. Um, so LinkedIn, it's important because as you pitch yourself for those conferences, this is the main benefit that I see. I have like, I don't know, 20,000 followers on LinkedIn, which is 100% from that outreach tool, by the way. I've been using it for 7 or so years. And it's grown through that, not from posting and stuff. And I get invited to speak or invited to VC dinners, invited to this free ticket for that. And, if I was a lifestyle entrepreneur, I mean, lifestyle influencer, it wouldn't really matter. But for the rooms that I get in from that, I mean, that's another big part of our customer acquisition. So it does have a value add there for being the biggest voice in waste reduction or wood diversion. So then as you grow, then you get invited to speak and you get, called to those tables. And I think that, and then even, the people at Amazon or whatever find you because you're the biggest voice. I think like these AI engines and Google and everything, they're also looking at, how large the social media following is, because it validates that it's not a scam, that it's not fake. So a couple other things with LinkedIn, since we're really diving in there. There's also a lot for your space, a lot of very powerful hashtags and keywords that people are using, and you can join in those discussions. So I often tell founders, you said you're already on LinkedIn a lot. I want you to like compartmentalize, like it's 1 hour per day, like your lunch hour max. That's the maximum you get. Otherwise, if it's more valuable, then it needs to be a team member that's just handling your social media. I mean, a lot of companies literally reach out to GrowthExpertz just for that, and then I convince them that there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we have to do. But that is the main thing that people think, because I want the optics. I want people to see how active we are. You're already doing really badass stuff with the biggest companies in the world, so you should be getting a maximum amount of eyeballs on that. So that, I call it like community management or forum influencing or off-page social media marketing. Essentially, hashtag sustainability or hashtag waste reduction. You should be commenting and sharing and being engaging with all the most viral topics there, because then it's going to make people click on your profile and look at what you're doing, and you just get a lot of exposure. Again, the person at Google, I don't know what's the decision making role in the data center people, like the person you would need to convince to tell the contractor. Is it a sustainability role at that company, or is it who is it?
Oftentimes the entry point is through the sustainability team. But within different companies, I would say they're influencers, not necessarily decision makers. But the sustainability team can put us in contact with the project managers and the
Exactly.
superintendents running the construction site. The holy grail is if you get someone at the C level that takes an
Right.
interest and kind of gives their blessing, or gives that C level air support.
Okay.
That can change your whole trajectory, and most of all, that speeds things way up. Right?
Exactly.
If you're talking with a project manager or superintendent, that may take months to get going on a project. But if the COO or the CEO or anybody at the C level says, "Hey,
Do
take a
this.
look at this,
Yeah,
try this out," well, things happen fast. So
absolutely.
that's the
So,
holy grail.
well, I called that, by the way, just to pat myself on the shoulder. So that's who. So with the outreach stuff that I talked about, you want to do multiple campaigns. So that's called, the CEO is a top down approach. You get very little responses, but some of them will add you, right? And then they see the content, and that is your network growing with CEOs and C-level people of all those $100 billion companies is priceless, and they will accept, and they just won't always respond. And then they'll move forwards, or they'll tell someone else, "Hey, my CEO said." So that's great. It should always happen. You want to build those connections. Just know they're not going to respond as much. The bottoms up, no offense to the sustainability people, but they're the obvious, yes, this is but they need time to push it. Those people are going to be the ones that respond the most, but then it takes a lot of time to convince the team. So you want to hit all prongs there and make sure you're doing the outreach on all
We
cylinders.
we call that multiple entry points. We
Yeah,
want to talk
yeah.
to the C level, we want to talk to sustainability guys, and we want to talk to the operations guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so it's really just a spray and pray approach, um, as un I don't know what the word, as not professional as it sounds. It really does work. We're trying to create awareness, we're trying to build relationships, and then just get those people into your network so that they can see those consistent case studies. Another company saved $5 million. Another company got global PR. What are you fucking doing not working with us? So that's what I would say. So LinkedIn is becoming less and less valuable, email outreach becoming less and less valuable. Like, that's why the GEO stuff, or the AEO, is becoming the most important thing. And so I think definitely that would be something worth investing in. I mean, you're talking under 100K for the year to really dominate in that. And, at the end of the year, the clients come to you forever. And so especially because you're in a not very competitive space. Like, you've got Waste Management is not doing GEO. You know what I mean? Like, these are old incumbent companies that are just sitting on corporate relationships for the last 20 years. And so being the only company in the space doing that aggressive marketing will pay off really quickly. So cool. Well, Mr. Thomas, this is the longest one I think I've done in at least a year. But it has been a pleasure. Thank you for sharing so much wisdom. And yeah, like I said, send me the link to the book so I can put it in the show notes, and we will promote that. And Woodchuck, if anybody here is listening and has access to data center contractors or Google sustainability contacts, please reach out to Todd at woodchuck.ai. Just guessed your email. Is that correct?
That's right. That's exactly right.
I did a test. I scraped like 10,000 founder emails. 85% of founder emails are first name at companyname.com for anybody that likes outreach there.
Yeah.
So
Honestly,
Yeah.
our whole team, we're a small team. There's only 8 of us, and that's the whole email structure. First name at
Yeah.
woodchuck.ai.
People are like on social media, they're like, DM me your email. I'm like, no, it's Andrew at growthexperts.com. I don't care about my email being public. I want you to hit me up. I don't care. So cool. Todd, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks. That was a really fun conversation. Thanks so much. Really enjoyed it.
That has been another episode of the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by GrowthExpertz. If you liked this episode, please subscribe. And if you really liked it, please share with other founders and entrepreneurs. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.